Premiere Pro CS6 has a number of enhancements for working with multi-camera edits, and one of the criticisms that earlier versions had was that you were allowed to edit a maximum of 4 cameras at once, and in CS6 it's much more than that. In fact, there's no in particular maximum. There's no theoretical maximum, but there's going to come a point where it's really impractical. And the new multi-camera monitor automatically adapts to the number of camera angles you have. Now, having said all of that, I've got 4 camera angles here, so just take my word for it. You can have as many layers as you like. And the mechanism for creating a multi-camera edit in Premiere Pro is to layer all of the clips you want to use in your multi-camera edit and then put that sequence with the layered clips in it into another sequence as a nested sequence. And I'll walk you through the process. Here's how you get ready for a multi-camera edit. First of all, you've got to have your media. And here I've got 4 shots ready to go, 1, 2, 3, 4, that are from a multi-camera shoot. And you can see if I open these up, we've got someone there giving us a sync point. Before I go any further, I'll just save this as a complete version so you can try both. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Premiere Pro what that sync point is. Now, if you are working with media that has external sync timecode, if you've got an external timecode generator and it's giving the cameras all exactly the same timecode, then you're in a wonderful position because Premiere Pro can automatically synchronize your clips using that timecode information. I don't think I have on these, so I'm just going to instead go through each of them one by one, and I'm going to add an in mark as that clap happens. So I'm going to mark an in on this one. Let's do the same for this. I'm actually just holding down the arrow keys here to go forwards. Let's go for number 3. Well, that one's a little bit late. Okay. And there we go. And now number 4. And there we have it. Now, if you have a lot of media that needs synchronizing in this way, you can use a piece of software called Pluralize, and Premiere Pro supports XML file import and export. And the gist of the workflow for Pluralize is that you export your sequence as XML. That gets imported into the Pluralize application and it lines everything up. So first of all, you need to put the clips onto the sequence in the first place, and they need to have audio because Pluralize uses the soundtrack from each camera angle in order to create the sync. And I encourage you to get some kind of audio on every camera if you possibly can. It doesn't matter how terrible it is, it can really help in the edit if you've got a reference point. Now let me show you the long way round and then the short way round of turning this into a multi-cam sequence. First of all, the long way round, I'm going to create a sequence from one of these clips by dragging it onto the new item button. And this is going to create a multi-cam sequence. It's just a sequence that matches the playback settings of my media. Then in that sequence, I'm going to right-click and add tracks, and I'm going to add a video track and an audio track. There we go. So I've now got 4 of each, and I'm just going to go in and I'm going to drop my 1, 2, and 3 camera angles onto my timeline. Now, because I have already put an in mark on that matches my sync point, then I know these are all going to be synchronized. And this, let's call this the manual multicam. There we are. This is now a sequence that I can edit into another sequence in order to enable the multicam mode. I'm pretty much ready to do that now. All I need to do is go to my other sequence, import this. I'm going to drag and drop this and nest it, and I'm almost ready to go. All that remains, I've just zoomed out a little bit, is for me to right-click on this nested sequence, go to the multi-camera menu option and choose Enable. This is an important step because unless I tell Premiere Pro that this sequence is intended to be a multicam edit, Premiere Pro is not going to give me the right controls for me to perform the edit itself. So that's the long way round to prepare for a multi-camera edit. Let me show you the quicker way. I'm just going to select this and hit delete. And now I'm going to select, by holding down the Shift key, I'm going to select all 4 of these clips. And now I'm going to right-click on one of them, and I'm going to choose this new option. This is a new feature in Premiere Pro CS6. Create multi-camera source sequence. So I'm going to choose that option, and I'm given an invitation to name the sequence. I'm going to call this automatic multicam. And Premiere Pro is going to give me these options. I can use in points as a reference for my synchronization. I can use out points. I can use timecode if I have it. And this is wonderful because it's very common for professional camera operators to start each tape with the hour of the tape name. So if it's the first tape, you'd be beginning on hour 1, the second tape would begin on hour 2, and so on. By telling Premiere Pro to ignore the hours, we're asking Premiere Pro to ignore that rather unhelpful for the point of synchronization, that rather unhelpful feature that is normally really great because it helps you to locate your media. If I had added any clip markers, I'd also have this clip marker option, and I could specify to use that as a sync point instead of my in points. Commonly, you're going to find that in points works really well, but it could be, for example, years ago, I edited the World Judo Championships video, the official video for a wonderful company called Fighting Films, and we found it very difficult to find sync points from all of the feeds given by the various agencies filming this Olympic event. In the end, we often found that when the loser's head hit the mat, that was a perfect sync point. And so we would just use a marker or an equivalent and use that as our reference. It doesn't really matter because you can always trim out and restore any media that's missing if you've had to mark the clip in the middle, say, with an in point. So I'm going to click OK. And Premiere Pro is going to generate this automatic multicam. Now notice the icon is actually slightly different to the icon for a regular sequence. And it also behaves differently. If I double click on this, I'm going to get a viewing window for each angle. And I can choose the camera angle that I want from 1 to 4. In this case, it could be a lot more if I wanted it to be. If I drag and drop this into my main mountain race multicam sequence, it actually looks exactly the same as any other nested sequence. It's green, that's the default color. And really, the only major difference is if I right-click on this, the multi-camera mode is already enabled. And in fact, a camera angle's been chosen. I chose that just now in the source window. If I double-click on this clip, it's going to take me up into the source panel, and I can choose a different camera angle, and it's going to update inside the timeline for me. This is very similar to using the source panel to change the in and out marks. If I right-click instead of double-clicking and go into the multi-camera options and disable, I'm going to turn off the enable option for multicam, I'm now just looking at a regular nested sequence. And if I double-click on this, I'm right back into the sequence that was created. This is the automatic multicam sequence as a regular sequence that I can now edit. I wanted to show you this because you will find sometimes that one angle or other has maybe some color balance issues, or you need to correct it in order to fit the other camera angles. Being able to get into the sequence is very, very useful because it allows you to correct that problem at that level rather than somehow having to deal with it after you've conducted your multicam edit in your main sequence. Obviously, if you've manually created your multicam, as I have here, you've got access to all your individual clips anyway, and you can make any changes you want. But with the automatic method from the bin, you're only going to be able to access this as a sequence if you first of all right-click on the sequence and turn off this multi-camera enable. There's no harm in doing it. I can turn it back on again, and we're back to where we were. The difference is, in fact, I've now got access to this, so I can make changes if I want to and see them update inside my multicam edit. So that's how to prepare for a multi-camera edit with Premiere Pro CS6.